Welcome everyone. This is chapter 6, which is talking about pointing. Pointing is a finishing of mortar joints in stone or brick masonry construction. You can see this picture. This is a brick wall. There are joints between each brick, horizontal joints and vertical joints. These joints should be level and smooth. In order to achieve this requirement, pointing is one of the best solutions. Pointing can be defined as the process of finishing the mortar joints of walls or similar structures with either cement mortar or lime mortar. If the mortar is prepared from cement, it is called cement mortar. In the other case, if the mortar is prepared from lime, it is called lime mortar. And the pointing process is used to protect the joints from atmospheric agencies like rain, heat, and wind. And pointing is used to repairing and strengthening brick masonry or stone masonry joints. If the existing mortar joint is cracked or damaged due to different impact loads, it can be replaced with fresh mortar of the same composition as previous one. Okay, students, what do you think about the requirement of pointing? The answer is where the uniform and smooth surface is not required, we can point the wall. And where the joints have to be protected against weathering agencies to prevent dampness or leakage, pointing will be done. As you know, dampness is very dangerous agent for our buildings. It should be protected. So this wall should be point to prevent the leakage. The other reason is when the natural beauty of the material need to be visible. For example, in this picture, the natural beauty of stone needs to be visible, but the joints should be protected from leakage of water and external agencies. So pointing is here also the best solution to create such type of surfaces. Here we will see importance of pointing. What is the importance of pointing? It is used to seal the voids or spaces that may carry water. For example, you can see this picture. There is a void or porous structure in the joint. It can be created due to less workmanship or low quality material or different reasons. But the joints should be protected from leakage of water. So we can paint, we can point this joint, and pointing reduces regular maintenance. If it is done properly, frequent maintenance or regular maintenance of the wall will be needed. Pointing gives strong and reliable bond finishing at brick stone masonry joints. Pointing can be used to fill the gaps of joints and it improves the durability of masonry walls. That means long life service of the structure will be improved by pointing the wall. And we can improve the aesthetic appearance of the surface by points that surface. We can see different types of pointing here. The first type of pointing is flash pointing. You can see the picture here. There are bricks. Between two bricks, there is a joint. The joint and two bricks are laid in the straight line. So it is called flash pointing. And the other type of pointing is weathered pointing. Some slope will be given in the joint. It provides for the surface beautiful appearance, and we can use it as an alternative. And grooved pointing or key pointing is another alternative. There is a groove. The shape of the groove is curved or round. It gives beautiful appearance for the surface, but there is a disadvantage here. It will be the cause of accumulation of dirt, dust, and water inside the joint. So this is another type of joint. And here we will see V-grouped pointing. This type of pointing is the same as the first key pointing. The only difference here is the shape in the key pointing is curved. Here the shape is V-shaped or angle shape. This is another alternative. And the other alternative is beaded joint. There is a projection out of the surface, in this case of pointing. It gives for the surface beautiful appearance, but this can be broken easily by simple impact loading. So this is the disadvantage of this type of pointing. And track pointing. Here also, there is an angle at the bottom of the joint. We can use this as an alternative for the surface. Recessed pointing is another type of pointing method. Here, there is a 90-degree angle in the joint. It makes the surface beautiful. But here also, there is a chance of accumulation of dirt and dust inside the joint. Mortars used in pointing. Mortars can be classified as lime mortar, cement mortar, circular mortar, and other types of mortars can be used. Here we will see the procedure of pointing. First, clean the surface. This video is to demonstrate you the step-by-step procedure of pointing. This is a brick wall to be pointed. The first thing is removing the existing mortar in the joint. You can use various types of tools to remove the joint. Now he is trying to remove the existing joints, but much work is needed by using such type of material. So we have to search another alternative. In this case, grinding. He is using grinding. The depth of the disc and the thickness of the disc should be adjusted, and you can grind the wool properly. You have to protect yourself from different accidents. Your mouth, your nose, and your ears should be protected. And after removing the mortar, clean the joints by using a type of brush in order to clean the dust. And then add water to make the surface wet, because the surface should not absorb mixing water from the mortar. So it should be wet enough. And then mix the mortar. He is now mixing the mortar, and you can use such type of mortar for pointing. You can use different types of tools. The shape of the tool depends upon the required finished surface. It can be round, it can be angular, or different types of finishing is needed. So you can use various tools depending upon the requirements. This is a float. It is used to make straight edge, and this is a mortar. You have to check the consistency of mortar If there is excess amount of water inside the mortar, it will not be able to rest inside the joint. So we have to check the consistency of the mortar such like this. Now fill the joints by prepared mortar. Press the mortar properly in order to not create porous structure or gap inside the joint. You have to press properly. And all vertical joints and horizontal joints should be filled by mortar such like this. Now he is checking the setting of the mortar because it should be set properly before starting the finishing work. If the fingerprint or scratch is not created on the surface, it is the time to finish. It is the time to work on it. Now it is good. He is trying to finish. You can feel the gaps and also you can cut the excess mortar on the surface. You can finish such like this by using the required tool. All gaps should be filled here and the excess mortar should be cleaned. And then give light brush to clean the excess material on the surface. Now the pointing procedure is finished here. I hope you get some important points from this practical procedure and we will continue point. So what is the procedure of pointing? First, removing the mortar. After that, cleaning the joints as you have seen in the picture and as you have seen from the video. The next procedure is preparation of mortar. You can prepare the mortar such like this. The mortar is prepared by using cement, water, and sand. It depends upon the type of mortar. It can be lime mortar or cement mortar. So after cleaning the surface, you can prepare the mortar such like this. And filling the joints with mortar. As you have seen from the video, here also there is a picture. You can fill the gaps by using different mechanisms. Procedure is finishing the joints. You can finish the joints by using different types of tools. After setting the filled mortar on the joint, you can start your finishing procedure and you can use various kinds of finishing tool depending upon your finishing type. Methods of pointing in construction. Here is also the procedure of pointing. First, rack out or remove out the existing mortar, and next, test the other derbies and tests from the joint, and then add water to keep the surface wet because the mixing water from the mortar should not be absorbed by the wall. If the wall is too dry, it is able to absorb water from the mortar. So it should be protected by moisturizing the wall. So after wetting the wall, filling the joint by the required mortar. You have to make sure that press the mortar into joints with a trowel to have strong bonding between old and new mortar surfaces. It should be The bond should be strong enough to carry different loadings. And apply the same method to all vertical and horizontal joints. All vertical and horizontal joints should be pointed properly. After finishing this procedure, the next procedure is curing. Curing is adding of water on the surface. It should be done at least 10 days if the mortar is cement mortar, but if it is lime mortar, 3 days are required. Now we will see precautions for pointing. That means some points should be considered for pointing well. The first one is not using too much water in mortar. If there is excess mixing water in the mortar will be weak. The porous structure will be created inside the joint. And also, the mortar is not able to rest inside the joint of the wall. So, the amount of mixing water in the mortar should be controlled depending upon the amount of moisture content in the sand and the weather condition, and different points should be considered. The other point to be considered is not pointing in hot or in cold climates. Because in building construction, the pointing of walls can be affected by extreme climate. For example, see this picture. In very hot climate, materials like mortar and brick expand due to high temperatures and contract at cool temperatures. So, by this repeated expansion and contraction, the material will be cracked out. So, we have to prevent this type of problem. And the other point to be considered is deterioration. Excessive heat can accelerate the breakdown of mortar, causing it to become brittle and lose its strength. You can see the picture. Because of the excess heat, the mortar loses its strength and it is cracked. It is fallen down from the joint. So this is deterioration problem. So we have to take the weather into our consideration. This can compromise the overall stability of the wall because since the joint is poor, the overall strength of the wall will be affected. In the other hand, cold climate has also its own problem on the pointed wall. The first one is condensation risk. Cold weather can lead to condensation within the wall assembly. For example, you can see this picture. There is a dampness inside the building. It is because of condensation. When warm, moist indoor air comes into contact with a cold surface, condensation occurs. This moisture can lead to mold growth inside the building. This mold growth is one of the problems in the buildings. This mold growth and structural deterioration also can be occurred. Now we will see advantages of pointing. Pointing is used to see the voids or spaces that may carry water. As we have seen from the previous picture, since there is a void or porous structure inside the joint, that joint is able to carry water. So that water is not suitable for structural members, so it should be avoided. So pointing is used to avoid this problem. Pointing is used to reducing regular maintenance. If it is done properly, frequent maintenance or regular maintenance of the building is not required. And it gives strong bonds for masonry units. Pointing protects the external wall from rainwater. And it is used to restore the overall building appearance. The building will be beautiful due to different types of pointings. Pointing helps to reduce any ongoing brick or maintenance work. Since it is strong, no need of frequent maintenance. In achieving the structural integrity of the structure, it is also good mechanism. It also increases the value of your property. Since the building is strong and beautiful, the property value of the building will increase. There are some disadvantages of pointing. For example, the possibility of mortar cracking. As you have seen from the previous picture, the mortar joint can be cracked and the possibility of mortar falling. The joint mortar might be fell down. And the other disadvantage is the possibility of the mortar not matching to the original color of the structure because the mortar can be prepared from cement and sand, but the wall can be constructed from brick or hollow block or stone, so the color mismatch can be created. Now we will see differences between pointing and plastering. Pointing and plastering both are used to finish the wood surface, but there is some difference on two mechanisms. Pointing is the art of finishing the mortar joints of the wall. It is used to protect the joint from atmospheric agencies. In the case of plastering, plastering is a process of covering rough walls, uneven surfaces, and any other defects in the building will be covered by the mortar. So these are the differences between two finishing mechanisms. Now it is the end of the chapter. I hope you have got some important points, and for further information you can see your material on the LMS. Thanks for watching.